Hey, there's something that came on my mind. There are people that are looking to buy cars and vehicles, especially classic cars and classic RVs or whatever else. And this is the fate of many classic cars. Something that they call title jumping. Title jumping, title skipping, and illegal car dealers that want to sell cars without a dealer's license to deal with cash money. And Joe Schmo signs his name on the back of a car title. It's a 1980 Corvette, you know? Joe Schmo has a 1980 Corvette. Joe Schmo has the notary to notarize his signature. But the buyer's name on the back of the title is left open. That's called left it blank. That's called an open title. Now, the way it's supposed to work is Joe Schmo sells it to Sally Smith, and Sally Smith takes it to the DMV and has it put in her name and signs the back of the title. Sally Smith does. But a lot of times, what people do, Sally Smith, instead of putting in her name, she forwards it on to Steve Smith. Steve Brown. Sally Smith sells the vehicle over to Steve Brown. Steve Brown transfers it and sells it to Mike Moore. The problem with jump titles and skip titles is often illegal. So if you buy a vehicle with an open title, what's called an open title, that means the seller has notarized the signature on the back of the title, but the buyer's signature is not signed. If the buyer's name is left open for you to put your name on there, then that would be open. And sometimes you have to watch, because sometimes those cars, a person has a hard time getting that car put in their name for a reason. Sometimes those titles have something wrong with it. Now, what happened with me, there's something called a duplicate title. I had a 1980 Chevrolet four-wheel drive truck. Around 2013, I sold it. Or 2014, I sold that. 2013 or 14, I sold the 1980 Chevy four-wheel drive truck. And I did it. I had my name signature notarized on the back of the title. I notarized my signature, left the buyer's section open. A guy came and got it, and I gave him the blank title, and he gave me the money. And that's how I sold my 85 Oldsmobile recently. And the man went to his DMV in Louisville and had it transferred. But you can go to a notary and have both parties sign their names on the back, have both of their names notarized. The buyer and seller can both have their names notarized on the back of that title. If Joe Schmo wants to go with Sally Smith to the DMV, to the notary late at night, because Sally Smith gets off work at 5 o'clock and she can't get to the DMV to transfer it. Maybe it's on a Saturday or Sunday when the parties have the chance to do their thing. But either way, people do it that way because some people have to work through the week, and the only time they can do it is on a Saturday. And they can find a notary on a Saturday or something like that to be able to do it. So, that's... But the 80 Chevrolet pickup, when I sold it, the owner refused to transfer it. So I had to go get a duplicate title. You can do what you call filing for a lost or stolen title. You can file for a lost title. And then they sent me the new title for the 80 Chevy pickup. And I turned it in and junked it. I junked the 80 Chevrolet pickup because they wouldn't transfer it. You go on Craigslist. You see an 80 Corvette, on Craigslist. Oh, the title. Do you have a clear title in your name? No, it's in someone else's name. But it's notarized. It's signed over and notarized. Someone notarized it. And so, what if Steve Smith refused to transfer it and he went 6 years without transferring it? There's a good chance that, Joe Schmo sold it with the idea that Steve Smith would go to the DMV and transfer it. But, Joe Schmo did. Steve Smith refused to transfer it, and he decides he's going to wait 6 years, and then he's going to try to sell it. Well, what Steve Smith doesn't understand is that Joe Schmo got tired of waiting. Because a person that wants to transfer the title into their name, you notarize a title, you're supposed to go in 40 and so many days and transfer that title. When you notarize that title, you're supposed to go right away and get it transferred. You have so much time to transfer it. And the point is that, Joe Schmo got tired of waiting, so Joe Schmo uh, requested a duplicate title. Joe Schmo requested a duplicate title. And so Joe Schmo got a duplicate title for that 80 Corvette. And it's like, and the original title that Joe Schmo signed over and notarized and gave the original title to Steve Smith. And Steve Smith waited to transfer it. I mean, that car, until it goes to the DMV to be transferred legally into Steve Smith's name, it still belongs to Joe Schmo. It still belongs to Joe Schmo until it's transferred at the DMV. Now it goes into the fact that because if Steve Smith's name's not on the title and it's an open title, if Steve Smith's name is not notarized on the back of that title, if Steve Smith's name is not notarized on the back of that title, he has no legal rights to that car because his name is not on it. Sure, that person, it's an incomplete transfer. You can go to the courthouse and file for incomplete transfer. You can say, I sold it to these people, they refuse to transfer it, and you can call it an incomplete transfer. But what I do with the 80 Chevy pickup, they let me do that. They let me junk it. So you can file for a duplicate title. You can file for a duplicate title, and you can get a duplicate title. If you're still the legal owner of that vehicle, you can always file for a duplicate title because you are the legal owner. You are the legal owner of that vehicle, and you can always file for a duplicate title. You can tell them you lost your title. But if you lost your title, you tell them at the DMV you lost your title, and then what happens is you get your new duplicate title and you take it into the DMV courthouse and you junk it. You for $1 you can junk a vehicle, and you junk that vehicle legally. You junk that 80 Corvette. So that whatever title that Steve Smith has that he's trying to peddle on to Bernie Smith, he's trying to peddle Steve Smith is trying to Steve Smith is trying to peddle the car on Craigslist over to a guy named Mark Wilson, And Mark Wilson is a nice guy. Mark Wilson doesn't bother anybody. Mark Wilson is on Craigslist looking at a car. Wow, man, I look at an 80 Corvette and they only want $5,000 for it. Man, it runs and everything. Steve Smith, do you have a title in your name for this 80 Corvette? No, but it's notarized. It's notarized. I bought it from this other guy, and he notarized the title and it's ready to go. But the point is Steve Smith, Joe Schmo could have always got a duplicate title, file for a duplicate title. Because if Joe Schmo doesn't request a duplicate title or file for incomplete transfer, he's going to be owing the property tax on that vehicle. And that's another reason a lot of times it's, if you're going to sell cars, buy a car and then keep it for a little while and work on it and then flip it and sell it. Try to flip a car without putting it in your name. If you want to flip a car but not put it in your name, they call that title jumping, title skipping. And the people that run illegal dealerships, they call them curb stoning people. Curb stoners are illegal dealers. And so, they're trying to run. There's a lot of people that do that, but I'm telling you, you can get a lot of problems with these really old classic cars and boats and stuff. I was looking at a sailboat, and this sailboat has that problem. It was 6 years ago that the guy bought the thing, but, it's just, it may not have any intention, but a lot of people do it. But, that's the problem with a title of a vehicle that's in someone else's name, is that there is a possibility to have a duplicate title. And if you apply for a duplicate title, the original title that Joe Schmo signed over to Steve Smith, and Steve Smith is trying to peddle his Corvette over onto Mark Wilson, but Mark Wilson doesn't understand that that title that Steve Smith has in his hand is void. If you apply for a lost title, You get your duplicate title through the mail. Title numbers. The original title of Joe Schmo is title 047. That's title number 047. Everyone doesn't just have a VIN number, vehicle identification number, they have a title number. Each time the title is transferred to someone else, it's the same vehicle, but it's a different title number. Even if you change your name on the title, even if you request a lost title and you get a duplicate title, it is a new title number. You look up the title number. You look up the title number at that courthouse. And if you want to buy a vehicle, you ask for that title number. Because it's not just the VIN number, but the title number. The title number is important. Not just the VIN, but the title number. The title number is 047 is a void title. Because when Joe Schmo requested a duplicate title, title number 047 became void. Title 047 is void, so it doesn't matter what Steve Smith does to that title. It doesn't matter what Mark Wilson tries to do when he tries to go to his courthouse and try to transfer it. It's not going to do Mark Wilson any good because that title is void because Joe Schmo got a new copy. He had a duplicate title. He filed for something called lost title. He filed for lost title because Steve Smith refused to transfer it. And that's the point to it. And Mark Wilson, you're out of luck, buddy. You don't need to do that Corvette. That's not a good thing to do. You need to find someone that's honest. If somebody has the vehicle in their own name. Now, if they want to do an open title, you're not supposed to do that. But the open title can be done, but it has to be in Steve Smith. I would never buy it from Steve Smith. I would always buy it from Joe Schmo himself, And so, the new title, the duplicate title that Joe Schmo applied for is called title number 048. The old title is void. So just because somebody has a title to an old vehicle, and you can see that old car has a title to it, or a boat or RV has a title to it, it's been sitting for 10 years in a barn. And it has a title, and sure it's the original title from 1985 or whatever. I've got a 1985 Oldsmobile 88. And it was in Illinois. And it was an Illinois title. And it was a title from the original owner in 1985. But the title had been jumped several times on that Oldsmobile. And I'd got a car fax and I figured out what happened. That car has failed emissions inspections in Illinois. And around the Chicagoland area, they have vehicle emission inspections. They have smog inspections for cars. And that 85 Oldsmobile 88, it failed smog. It failed the smog. That's what happened to it. And I guess they junked the car because I called Illinois and they said it wasn't in their system. That car was no longer in the system. Now the title wasn't notarized. But Illinois is a non-notary state. And someone had, I think, maybe forged their name on the back of that title. But I don't know if they did or not. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is it was just lucky that the title wouldn't go through at the courthouse. So they manually overrided the system and pushed it on through for me. So they were nice to me. Pushed it on through for me because that happens with old cars. So, I got my title from my 85 Oldsmobile, even though it might have been taken off the road legally in Illinois. It was never titled in Kentucky. So, and there's something called the Vermont loophole. The Vermont loophole, they don't require titles to register a vehicle in. They don't issue titles for cars over 30 or years old or whatever. So you can get registration for a car without a title in Vermont. And then you take your registration, which counts as a title in Vermont because they don't do titles for old cars in Vermont. And you take that information and get a title in your state. But it doesn't work if that 80 Corvette was previously titled in Kentucky. Now, if you want to use the Vermont loophole with that 80 Corvette, you could do that if you were buying the 80 Corvette from Tennessee. If it was a Tennessee 80 Corvette, it would work. But if it was already titled in Kentucky, it'll kick back. You can't transfer it in Kentucky again and get a new title for a junk Kentucky car. You can't get a title for a junk Kentucky car because it's already been titled in Kentucky, junked in Kentucky. Now, if it was a vehicle from